This is ACOFAE.
Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present a collection of fandoms and exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content, and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from the book Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, with mentions of Heated Rivalry, Project Hail Mary, For All Mankind, and Outlander. For full list, please see show notes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to ACOFAE, your weekly deep dive into the fantasy, literature, and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing Atmosphere, a love story by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
And this book was chosen because whether you are a longtime listener or you're joining us, we typically have other themes going around on our respective birthdays. But we use our half birthdays to challenge the other into a genre that we might not have explored or watched or make the time to kind of discuss. And so for this episode, I gave Laura Marie 3 options because I was kind of not sure which way I kind of wanted to go. We read romance earlier this month with Heated Rivalry, and then I thought, okay, so what does Laura usually not care for, but I love, and I think it's great for our podcast. So I gave her a sapphic choice romance, a straight romance, and then a space fiction / period piece. And I gave her 3 options, and she was very curious about the space book that I had read. And full context, she chose space. We went with Atmosphere. And this was a very specific time for me because, I read Atmosphere. Right after that came watching Project Hail Mary. Then Artemis 2 was up in space, and then it came down all in this time period. And then in May, I got to meet the astronauts from Artemis 2. So it was a very emotional space journey these last couple weeks or months. And so I'm terrified when Laura said she was like, let's do this one, because it can go either way. How did you feel? Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is, I think, tell me your experience. What was this like? How much do you hate me for suggesting this book?
Gross negligence at the work goes beyond a simple mistake or ordinary carelessness. Gross negligence is defined as reckless disregard for safety or an extreme conscious indifference to workplace duties, resulting in severe danger, financial loss, or harm to people and property. Interesting fact here. Astronauts injured on the job are typically barred from suing NASA for negligence. Civil servants use the federal workers' compensation system, while active duty military personnel are restricted by the Ferris Doctrine from recovering service-related damages. Instead, they rely on specialized line of duty life and disability insurance. Now, what my other Google search isn't is where's the episode in Atmosphere, a love story, where Vanessa is arrested and tried for gross negligence in the workplace, for committing murder and murdering everybody else on board. Absolute wild shit. Okay, so now that we have covered that, gather around now, everybody. Let's learn a little bit of lore about Laura Marie. Laura Marie, that's me. I hate 2 things. Actually, 3 things. They're all really related. And when I tell you them, you'll go, oh, wow, I can really pinpoint why they're all related. All right. I hate things that are substantially larger than I am. Okay. Substantially larger than I am. I hate space, and I hate the ocean. Okay. All of those things. So when you put them together, you're like, oh, yes, no, I see. So I hate space for so many reasons. But one of them is because you can die in space very easily, and there is nothing that anyone can do because you're just up there dying. Like, you're just up there dying. It's the same thing if you're in a submarine. There's very little that anybody can do. You're just down there dying. So I started reading this love story where we start off with workplace murder, and we continue on with the plot essentially of For All Mankind, which is, I think is it Apple or HBO? I'm not sure. But For All Mankind, which when they got
Apple, yes.
Apple,
the show, yes.
Yeah. That show is basically this.
Oh.
Which is very interesting. So that. But this was a love story. This is a horror story. This is workplace negligence and also space training, which kill me all that math. On top of the politics of when this was written, and our two main characters. Horror stories all around, from work to family. Wow. So here's my confession before we really get into this. I loved this book because it got so much out of me. It got horror. I wanted to slap people. I was screaming at people. I was like, why are you doing this? Are you stupid? Or no, you're just in the closet. But are you stupid in the closet? Okay. All right. That's fine. It's fine. But space? Okay. And then the sister.
Oh.
I can't. The sister. That's its own horror story. You have two parallel horror stories going on. I can't think of anything worse. And then we are left with it's a love story, so it has to have a happily ever after. Again, where's the epilogue where we're all prosecuted for all of this, where we're all in prison, military jail?
This is, I know we have had the conversation, and I think specifically it's with our Cricket with the K episode. Romance genre typically falls under like an HEA. Everything has a happily ever after. But this is only my second book that I've read from Taylor Jenkins Reid, though there are love stories involved, that her books don't seem to fall under romance. They fall under fiction. And I know we've had this conversation with fantasy specifically. I know we used Outlander as an example where we're like, there's clearly fantasy elements involved because how are you time traveling? But that book series is under fiction, and so is Taylor Jenkins Reid. And because it's not under romance, even though it's atmosphere a love story, it could have gone either way, because I feel like that's how Daisy Jones and the Six, I was expecting a certain ending, and it did not end how I assumed it was going to go. And so I didn't know, just because it said a love story, it meant nothing. Honestly, because I remember I was reading this, and we both read this through audio, and Julia Whalen alone, like, we were both saying, chef's kiss. There's nothing that she can do wrong. She's amazing. This book was recommended to me by a coworker. And so I was reading this, and then I get to the first chapter, and I go, they're in space, and we're one chapter in, and someone's just all willy-nilly trying to disregard protocol. And I'm, as much as I would love to be the person who throws caution to the wind all the time, I am also very much a person who there are rules and policies and processes in place to guide us for situations like this. So when those processes aren't happening and I'm only in chapter 1, my red flags were already going up. I go, why are we listening to a man? The man saying disregard all of these places that we have in place so to keep the safety of yourself and 4 other coworkers, team members. Like, this is a unified experience, and the trickle down effect of it all, of everybody who's implicated. Then I think like this book takes, we go over the course of series of years, but this mission specifically happens in the 80s. Women are just being allowed. Now you've set yourself back. You've set women back because because you're like the only survivor, you're the woman who is representing all women, which again is brought into the storyline of you're like, yeah, you're acting a certain way, but if you cry, that's going to be not a ping against you. It's a ping against every single action. We are the first or second group of women. We are under a microscope. We need to set the standard because we all, as women, know we're better than the men. However, we need to prove that and kind of make certain allowances and kind of like roll our eyes and chuckle at the misogyny and the jokes because of the impact we're going to make. So it was so frustrating to me in the first book, the first chapter. And I told my coworker, I go, this isn't good. She goes, well, then you're in for a ride. And aside, it reminded me of, and I'm team black with House of the Dragon. Don't get me wrong, but I understand Alicent's frustration where she does all the protocols. She does everything that she's supposed to do, and it doesn't work out the way that she wants. It's the same millennial frustration. You do A plus B, you're supposed to equal C. We haven't seen C in over 20 years. So yeah, that's just the first step. That's how we kick it off.
This book, from Vanessa's perspective, is like her achieving her life's dream, stepping into the moment when things are needed, right? Like this book, from her perspective, is her victory lap and getting everything that she ever wants. This book, from Griff's perspective, is death. This book, from Joan's perspective, is achingly sad for a lot of it. And then tragic. This book, from all different perspectives, is like really interesting. But like I chose Vanessa specifically because like we have a little bit of her POV, but because I did attempt to like read this again, but I just get so fucking anxious when they're in space, just neglecting space protocols. Oh my God. That I couldn't get further on. But Vanessa says like her dream is to fly the shuttle. Like come hell or high water, her dream, no matter what, is to fly the shuttle.
It reminds me of be more specific with your wishes.
Yes.
So
yes. I mean, she got everything she ever wanted.
She kept saying like, oh, I'm only going to be a backseat pilot because I don't have military experience. But like, and you know, reading it, I've read this twice now. Granted, they were months apart. I don't think I could have done back to back in a week, just like emotionally to go through it. And then the frustration, because you are taken on a roller coaster with a lot of the characters, the circumstances, the trauma, the situation, and the frustrations that you're like, you just want to keep yelling. Those protocols were there to protect you. And this was completely avoidable incident.
Yeah. And but again, be careful what you wish for. Vanessa saves the day to her, in her eyes. Like she agreed with Griff to leave it open, right? It's not all on her. It was both of them. And then, you know, and he was like senior, you know, so like on both of them. And then she steps up and saves Lydia, you know, saves her, you know, from dying. She's unconscious. She lands the shuttle. Like she does it. Like it's like a monkey paw wish. Like it's bad, but it accomplishes everything. And then again, we just don't see, you know, this mystery epilogue I wish that I have in my head of like the police coming and dragging her out of the space shuttle.
Well, you know, and then when she admitted it on the comms, where she's like, oh, we left the compartment or whatever open. And Joan's like,
Copy
yeah,
that.
we figured as much.
Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't have proof. This was the 80s. Not everything was documented. Yeah. You didn't have the technology to record anything. You were so close. You could have just, I could have lived with the guilt. I don't know.
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I think I would have like,
that type of guilt, I think. Okay, let's expand on this because we haven't even gotten into it, but this is where we're at. Do you think the relationship survives this? I don't. I do not. I do not think the relationship survives this. I think Vanessa spirals into deep depression and then just fucks off and leaves.
I don't think she leaves. I think she ODs because we already have the background that she didn't
drugs. Yeah.
She did and hard drugs too. I think Joan forgives her. I think Joan loves her that much. I think Joan is like, this is somebody I was going to share my life with no matter what, because even when they have that like third act fake breakup and they realize that actually, it's all, I say breakup. It was all for 7 minutes because they realized what the actual issue is. And it's, it's society and like their hatred towards, the queer community. But they realize it's like, it's them against the world and them against the problem, not each other. And I think that's huge. I think this is also like the first person that like, for Joan, it wasn't like, obviously she like came out and came to terms with herself but I think it was like, just like bigger than that. It was like, it wasn't just any woman. It was Vanessa that she was in love with. So I think the relationship wouldn't have survived on the sole fact that I think Vanessa would have like OD'd or something because she went with Griff. She agreed with it. She didn't fight him. She was like, there was no trepidation. He's like, just do it a little bit. It would have been different if she was like, no, don't do this. And he goes, I'm going to do it anyway. And then she saved the day. There would still be a lot of guilt on anybody, I would assume, to be like, I didn't want to do it. I knew what happened. He still did it anyway, but I survived. I'm like, what is it? It's survivor's guilt. I think that would have been it. But there's a difference between survivor's guilt and like complicit to murder.
Yeah, it is just wild. It's wild. And then to know that like there's nothing that she can do. Whatever. Okay.
Well, I think Joan also like, cause there's a part in the book where they talk about the various levels of type of fighting and arguing that they would do. There's not a doubt in my mind that Joan would have been like, she came down and once they got to terms with, oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, you survived, blah, 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 blah. What the fuck were you thinking? That was selfish on everybody up there, selfish on the families that are still here who survived them, selfish on me. Then you make it about yourself. Selfish on me, selfish on Franny, selfish on our family that we created. How dare you?
Yeah, I just can't see that relationship surviving no matter what. Whoever decided to do whatever. It's just it's too much. It's too much. I would never. That would always be in the back. You killed all these people. You killed all these people, and everybody knows that you killed all these people because you wanted a better view.
Oh, no! Strap me back in. I don't need a view for shit.
Okay. So obviously, we've established where we're both at. Jessica Marie, who are these astronauts?
Okay. Well, we have both of our FMCs. We have Joan. She starts off as, she's an astrologist. She has a deep background in physics. She teaches at Rice University. And she loves the stars and she wants to work for NASA. And you have Vanessa, who's more on like the technical physicist component side of things, who wants to fly. You have Lydia, who is another astronaut or, astronaut candidate, who there are core classes that they're training modules for the first and second group of women. The group of women that we focus on in this book is the second group. And then you have some of their cohorts. You have Griff. Who else do we have? Griff is like the one who stands out. David, who works with Lydia, or who Lydia winds up dating. And I think I missed Vanessa altogether. Oh no, I did say Vanessa. But with those astronauts also comes family dynamics, because a huge key component in Joan's life is her sister, Barbara, her little sister. And her little sister has a daughter, Franny, and Joan is very much a second parent, is a co-parent in that relationship. dynamic. And Barbara is a piece of shit. She's the worst sister that there can be, in my opinion.
Well, and she does the thing that, I mean, I knew I was going to hate Barbara as soon as she said, well, no, I'm going to keep the child because it's going to give me purpose.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, you're a piece of shit. Okay, great. I'm glad we established that right here, right away. So I just know you're a piece of shit and you're going to continue to be a piece of shit. And that proved to be true over and over and over again. And Joan is better than me because I'd be in jail.
Well, I mean, and it's brought up in her and Vanessa's fights later on in the book where Vanessa's like, you let your sister walk all over you. You allow this. You are complicit to, like, at some point you need to take ownership of it and you're not.
Yep. And it even goes so far as Barbara eventually gets married to this guy and they have a terrible relationship with Franny. And Barbara says, then just take her. You want to be her mom so much, then just take her. I don't want her. It's like, oh my God.
And I'm not saying that, like, I'm sure that there are parents out there who are like so exasperated, but like Barbara looked for purpose in Franny. And that's not Franny's responsibility. She is the parent. And that's a bigger conversation it comes with, because I think some parents forget that if you want a kid, you need to think of it from every angle. Are you going to want your kid when they're difficult? Are you going to want your kid when they don't love you, when they don't turn out the way you want them to, when they have a different relationship? Love is supposed to be unconditional, and that's what we're taught. And that's definitely not the case with Barbara, because Franny reminds Barbara so much of Joan, and Barbara has her own things that she has to work with and like her own insecurities because she can't measure up to her. It's always, Franny's so smart. She's always so advanced. She's just like you. Well, also, Joan made the time for your daughter. You've centered your life around men, and that's never been Joan.
Well, and Barbara drops the banger line, that we just know, again, how much of a piece of shit she is. Franny doesn't want to give her like a kiss because she's getting older and, it's cool. And she goes, Franny, I gave up my whole life for you. The least you can do is give me a kiss. Ugh. Like, you just know what it's like in that house. You know what every interaction
I don't blame
is
Franny
like.
for like being upset and lashing out. Every single thing is valid. Yep. And even when Joan is like offering that perspective to even like, and Joan says that about her sister. Like, we've always had to walk on eggshells around her. She, like Barbara, she's always been so sensitive. And even when she approaches that conversation very delicately, because she's trying to be mindful of her sister in that relationship, she's just like, you're just childish. And that's also, I think that's an ongoing conversation that we have in society still today, that if you aren't leading a life that is conforming to what is societally acceptable, then that must make you childish.
Which is so interesting, too, because you have two parallel journeys of these sisters, both living unconventional lives that society deems inappropriate for women, right? So Joan is in the closet. She's so in the closet. You could even say she's like asexual at this point. She does not understand. She says, Joan says, like, when she's talking to Griff, she's like, I just don't understand, or to Vanessa, I'm sorry. She goes, I don't understand the Beatles. Oh, I want to hold your hand. Like, what are, those are silly, like all these like girlish, silly emotions. I just don't get it. And it isn't until she falls in love with Vanessa and allows herself to really open up that she starts to relate to all of these things that she previously thought was childish, with I just, thought so interesting when she has this relationship with Vanessa. So that's one. And then Barbara leading the life of a single mother, and all of the stigma and stereotypes that go with that. She also
having a
child out of wedlock, and she is just like the absolute worst, the worst. She relies on Barbara. She borrows money from the parents constantly. She is nasty to Franny. She leaves her at school. She leaves her outside. She drives away. She forgets her places. She, just as you said, centers men on everything, and is just like neglectful and awful. And eventually she ships Franny off to boarding school. and,
Which
out of
is
sight,
just
out of
like,
mind.
yeah. And I think at that point, I think Joan was broken because she's like, obviously there's probably a level of selfish. She's like, that's my niece. You're taking her away from me also. Again, because of that co-parent dynamic and how deep their relationship was. But I think when also Joan took a step back and she realized, because even when Franny, she's like, I'm going to be around people my age. I don't have that now. I get to have regular dinner. They just like leave pizza money on the counter and just go off and do whatever. I do think that everybody, not to say boarding school isn't great. I know it's super productive and great for some people. But at this point, and for this particular dynamic, it was, I didn't want to have a kid to begin with. How can I, get you out of, I can still be the parent that says, oh, my daughter's off in work, because, in boarding school without the responsibility of being a parent, because she's always been about optics in her life and like how people perceive her, which is also a frustration Joan has to what you said, Laura, is she's like, the audacity of this bitch, because she wants to be so quick to judge me and my lifestyle. Granted, she doesn't know her lifestyle fully, and is saying that I'm inappropriate because I haven't dated to her knowledge and I haven't lived a certain way. Does she not realize she was the one who was getting pregnant as a teenager? She already had her first abortion. And again, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm saying that this woman is just, it's the same conversation of, you have people who are like pro-life, 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 but they're also down at Planned Parenthood.
She's just awful. Every time we talk to her, it's just worse and worse and worse, which sucks because Barbara is the reason that Joan is aware that NASA is looking for female candidates in the first place. Barbara's the one that puts it on her radar. So you're like, okay, maybe this is really something. And then they end that call. Barbara hangs up on her and says, oh my God, you just sucked all the fun out of it. And then just hangs up the phone on Joan, and Joan is like, and goes off on her own and applies. And when she thanks her later, Barbara's like, oh yeah, I did do that. Yeah. Huh. But it's a Star Trek reference. Nichelle Nichols is the one that was asking.
I noticed that. Yeah. I was like, I know her. You've met her.
I have met her. I have pictures with her. But so, I mean, right away, we know it's not going to be a good sister relationship, but it is just like, oh, all of this is kind of because of Barbara, and that sucks. And I hate that because astronaut training, maybe I'm showing my ass here. We all remember when Lance wanted to be an astronaut and went through all of the astronaut training.
Oh, Armstrong.
No. Bass.
Oh, that Lance. I'm thinking
we all remember when Lance Bass wanted to be an astronaut and he went through all of the training, but
just like Gail and Katy Perry went up into space with Lauren Bezos. I'm sure they would have aced this. Allegedly went into space.
Allegedly. Lance legit though, did all of the training. He didn't go up for there was some sort of technical reason that he didn't go up, but he did do all of the training. There's all the videos and stuff. So it looks awful.
You could not, and I know you feel the same way. There are a lot of things that money can buy. I think that's the perfect example. There is no amount of money you can give me to put me in space like that.
No, never. Space or the ocean. It's not happening. And that is coming from me, who has done all sorts of, stunty type things. I will not do that. And even the space camp kind of stuff that you can do, I don't like that either, because it's the weightlessness thing. It's the 0G, it's that. And I know my limits. And here's also something that I really want to talk about is that I really love, this is kind of a segue, but I just thought of it and it's important. I really love Joan's growth when it comes to what she ultimately finds very important in her life. She starts off with this overwhelming need to go to space. And then she gets to space and cannot stop throwing up. Girl, yes, I understand you. Jessica Marie, I am referring to my snorkeling experience. Woo.
Oh, yes.
I get you, Joan. I understand what you are going through with the vomiting. So Joan realizes that her calling is actually to be on Earth and that she doesn't actually like space. And I wonder if people reading this book found that to be a strange revelation for her character. But again, I want to point everybody to William Shatner when he got to go up into space. And, you know, William Shatner, Captain Kirk, space exploration is his middle name. He gets up there and was overcome with sadness and emptiness and a feeling of darkness and coldness, and said that Earth is the only place with warmth and light, and we need to do everything in our power to protect it because there is nothing out there for us in space. And that feeling is very common. So when that happened to Joan and she realized that like her calling is to work with space on Earth, I found that to be a very natural progression for her, especially because her ties have just been getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Like her roots are deeper with Vanessa and then with Franny. But I do wonder if there were people that were questioning that, like, why would you not, like, this is your dream, like, suck it up, like, go again, you know, get used to it type thing.
But I think it's also like such a great reflection of like one of the many themes in the book, because that's also said with Vanessa, where, you know, during Vanessa and Joan conversations, Joan's like, this has always been, this was always your dream, you know, and it was exploring something else. And she goes, exactly, it was my dream. It's no longer my dream. And how your dreams and things that you want to aspire to change. Or you hit that dream, you check it off your list and you're like, that's great. I got to do it. I got to experience it. Now I know I don't want to continue it, but I get to say, sometimes you have to learn and work through it to realize, you know what, it was a moment that I got to experience. And now what's the next thing that I want to explore? And I love that at first it was like a self-reflection for Joan when it came to making that decision, because at first she was going to say like, it's easy for me to go ahead and go into my, you know, what was his name? Or Antonio. I'm sorry. I can go to Antonio's office and say, look, my priorities have changed. I am now the caretaker for my niece. I need to be on the ground. And she goes, sure, but that's not the full truth. The actual truth and the more realistic, if I'm being honest with myself, is that I'm, like you said, I'm good here. I like being on the ground. I got to do it. It wasn't for me. But that doesn't mean that I don't get to be a part of this big thing in a different capacity. And I know I can. And she comes with the receipts. She's like, yeah, I might have been throwing up for 3 days straight in space, but you know what I can do? I'm good under pressure. Check my vitals for the last 4 years. Check my experience, like check my records. I know how to handle pressure. I know how to manage these decisions because of my background and because of my relationship dynamics with everybody. I can do this. And he's like, noted. We'd really like you up there again, but like, we'll take everything, you know. I think that's one thing you have to be, especially in a field like this, is understanding everybody's strengths and weaknesses. And you're not going to necessarily want somebody who doesn't want to be in space, because their headspace isn't going to be there either.
Have you ever been in like a spacesuit?
No.
Or like,
did you like have a sample one at one point?
Yeah. Heavy, of course, horrible, cumbersome, hot, freak out inducing. Now imagine you can't like take it off, and then imagine you can't like go outside. So when Vanessa is like trying with all this, get out into the spacesuit, dislocate, you know, in, out of this, it's horrible. Okay. Just nightmare fuel. I told Jess that this is a horror story. I stand by that. A love story, my ass. Okay. I mentioned For All Mankind earlier. If you are interested in like a visual representation of a story similar to this, I would recommend that. I, however, did stop watching that when there was a Actually, I'm going to spoil a part of For All Mankind. So skip ahead. There's a part in For All Mankind where one of the astronauts is up in space and he is talking to his wife. And there's like a delay, it's one of those like delays, video delays. And their child has died. And the wife has been instructed by NASA and Capcom to not tell the astronaut that their child is dead because he will freak out up there and they cannot guarantee that he won't do something insane to get back down to Earth to deal with it. And there is a lot of push and pull between NASA and everything going on between that. And eventually the wife breaks down and does tell him, and he does freak out. Yeah. And he does freak out a little bit. But I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But I did stop watching after that because it was panic inducing to watch this man freak out in space and not be able to do anything. He cannot go anywhere. It's like, oh my God, it's terrible. Okay. End of spoilers for All Mankind. No, I'm lying. The other subplot in For All Mankind is the scrutiny on same-sex relationships in NASA and what has to happen, and the beard situation that was rampant during that time.
For All Mankind, when was that? Like, when does the show came out recently. When does the show take place?
It's an alternate history. So that is important. Okay. It's alternate history. So it's not based on, it's based on, but like, it's not the same.
It's like The Man in the High Cast.
Exactly. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. But it's like the 60s, right? When was the space race? The 60s. Yeah, it's 60s. It's that. So it's set in the 60s. So there was a huge section on scrutiny of same-sex relationships and how, like, exactly like this, like the calls come in the middle of the night from headquarters and they can't find people. So they start calling people and they have to lie and say they're not next to the person and they have to go look for the person. And it's a bunch of like, and so that's a good visual representation of what is going on here between Joan and Vanessa as their relationship blossoms. They fall in love, they commit to each other, and then they fight for the like back 15% of the book or so, back 25% of the book or so. All they're doing is fighting over one thing or the other. It's heartbreaking because you start off in chapter 1 with a space accident. And then you go back in time. So there is this existential dread that is hanging over you the entire time you're reading the book of like, oh my God, cause every now and then you catch up to where chapter 1 was. And
it's the flash forward, present to flashback, because the present day, they're dealing with the space catastrophe that was completely preventable. What did you say?
Murder.
Gross negligence.
Gross negligence in the workplace.
We're dealing with that. And then you are in the flashbacks, you're building up to where we're getting into those current points of like where we are in the present day POV. So every time they're saying, you're finding out more like, well, she doesn't have to keep her hand compressed on Griff's stomach because he's dead. But then you're getting his whole backstory and how those relationships dynamic. So where you're in chapter 1, where you're like, this guy doesn't want to follow protocol, you also realize that this guy is the one who's training everybody.
Yeah. And everybody loves this guy. And he's just like one of the best guys out there. And he has the respect of everybody. And one of the other guys that dies, his wife just had a baby. So like now she's a single mother, like.
And she's the one who said, she's like, because another conversation, astronauts shouldn't date other astronauts. Yeah. And then there's the conversation. They're the only ones who actually know what you're going through. And she would say, she's like, if there was a parent to die, it should be me, not because I don't love my kid, but like, I thought I loved my kid. And I love my kid so deep, but he's the better parent. Like, I can't deny that. And like, you're learning this and you're like, oh my God, now she's the one with the kid, And again, by not closing that hatch, it wasn't just those people on the mission who were impacted. It is a spiderweb network of everybody, and how you set women back.
Again, spoilers for all mankind. The astronaut wives are kind of cliquey in For All Mankind, and they have mission viewing parties, because in this book, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, that we're talking about, they say that there are special broadcast channels for the families so that they can like listen into things, and sometimes they can come to the like gallery or whatever where Control is, and they can like watch or whatever. And that is portrayed in For All Mankind. And when a disaster happens, all of these wives are drinking wine and having hors d'oeuvres, and their kids are playing around, and they're watching things explode on TV. And then you're watching them react to that in real time. And it's horrifying. And that's just like the visual representation. So then you come here and you watch, or I mean, you're reading, you listen to Joan playing that role of trying to be calm and explaining everything to Vanessa as Houston is like mitigating the disaster that Vanessa has caused. And that stress is amplified knowing that, for example, Donna has raced into the viewing gallery and is there. No, even though her husband is dead in space in that space shuttle, but she's there. And then knowing that this disaster, so just going back to what you said about Vanessa, just like saying this out loud, it's not like that's just like Joe. That's like, you know, everybody heard that. So it's amplifying the other part of this in Atmosphere, which is that Vanessa and Joan were like almost broken up at this point. When this like happens, they like come back together, fall apart, come back together, fall apart, come back together, and then they're like, we're really gonna
try to how to work through it.
When you come down, when you get back, we're really gonna sort this thing out kind of situation. So then when they're having this like veiled, meaningful conversation over comms, which like means one thing to them, another thing to like Antonio and everybody else, but like another thing to like everybody that kind of clocked what was going on.
Yeah.
It's just like, stop talking is what I'm saying. Like I understand that you think you're going to die, and that sucks. That sucks. This thing that you did to yourself. But don't tank Joan's career because of this. Like, shut the fuck up.
And here's the thing. You also know that they had a conversation with her. I thought initially that they were clocking Joan, but on my reread, it was, we're clocking Vanessa, and you have a, like you told us, you're Ms. Mayor, you have a great relationship with everybody. So if you want to spread that information to whoever you may or may not have like relationships with, like friendships with, that's on you. I really thought that they were clocking her at first, and it seems that way a little bit, but the second reread, it's like, it's more apparent that they were like, we're clocking Vanessa. You just happen to have a relationship with everybody on the team.
Yeah. You know, Vanessa's the one that doesn't live close to campus. She's far away. She's, all
she
this.
isolates herself.
Yeah.
She's,
You're the only one that's friendly with her. She's like, all this stuff. She doesn't date. She doesn't, hang out really with people. She, yeah. Yeah. And then Joan says that, and Vanessa's like, oh shit, that, because they're fighting at that point. And then Joan kind of says, like, they know, get your shit together. They know. And Vanessa, that takes the steam or the wind right out of Vanessa's sails. And she's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's recalibrate then. None of that matters. Let's focus. So when she's up there and she's basically like, Joan, I love you, I'm going to die. It's like, Joan didn't do anything
yeah, you're
wrong.
like, wait, you're just supposed to implicate yourself, not both of us.
Joan didn't do anything wrong. Like, Joan's gonna be fine. Shut the fuck up. Like, oh my God. It's, again, like, what are you doing? You're just gonna take somebody out. Okay. Never mind, Vanessa. It's fine. It's fine. There's no epilogue where they drag her off in handcuffs. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. She's alive. I mean, spoiler for the end of the book, I guess. She lands the space shuttle and Lydia's alive, but everybody else is dead. Is that a win? I guess.
I don't know.
It's a win for Lydia because she's the one that plugged the hole.
Yes.
So she comes out of all of this free and clear. She's the queen of all of this.
She will still have a career after this.
Yeah, she's the only one that has a career after this. She's the only one. She comes out of this no harm, no foul. She plugged the leak. She was unconscious. And then she woke up on Earth. Good for her.
Honestly, best case scenario for me. I didn't have to like hear the comms. I didn't have to think like, let me be in a coma and knock the fuck out and not know a damn thing. I'll deal with PTSD trauma after, but like,
but I saved
else?
the day. I plugged the hole. I saved us.
I plugged the hole and I passed out. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Oh, you landed a plane. Good job. Good job. Like, I saved you so that you could do that. So, you know, I'm all for her. I'm all for her. Again, gross negligence in the workplace. Just wild shit. Wild shit. I think it's important to say that Barbara's husband, I had hope for Barbara's husband.
I did too.
I did. When he pulls Barbara aside, when she's getting on Joan's ass about not having a date.
I think he clocks the second read. I think he's clocking Joan too. I don't know if he says it, but I think like he recognizes Joan.
Yeah.
And like
he takes
Joan,
Barbara aside and is like, essentially like, shut up. Your sister can have a date. What are you doing?
Yeah. Why are you making this a thing? I here's my thing. Cause then I agree with a couple parties, anybody with it except Barbara, where Barbara's like, I really wanted to date this guy and he never said he didn't want kids. He didn't have kids. But like he was like happy to try and be like a stepdad. And where Joan's like, but you have a kid. Did he know you not have a kid? Like, why? But that being said, I have a lot of respect for David. I think, or like whatever her husband's name was, I think that he didn't know how to navigate the situation. I don't think he chose boarding school. I think Barbara chose boarding school and utilizes his finances to allow that. And he was just like, well, I'm in this awkward position. I'm the stepdad. That's not my kid. I need to be in my wife's corner about this. And we have the resources. If she thinks this is what's happening and what her daughter needs, I don't have a say. Yeah. I don't think he is the villain at all in any of this, because Barbara even says, he was just going to buy her like a stereo just because. And I feel like that's a natural way some step parents lean into, to be like, let me get on your good side. I'm not the bad guy here. He doesn't know how to navigate this relationship. And the problem is, it was never a good he came into an already poor relationship between Barbara and Francis. That was already a bad dynamic, and that's not on him. He really isn't the bad guy in any of this, honestly. Even with the decision to be like, look, there's this job opportunity. I could be based out of London. Barbara doesn't want anything to do with her daughter.
Yeah. Bottom line, Barbara doesn't want anything to do with her daughter. That's just what it is. And I do also feel bad for him, because Barbara didn't even tell Franny that she was engaged. She didn't tell her.
Or Joan. She was just like, and then she was upset that nobody brought it up.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Joan. She's like, I know she wants me to bring it up. she didn't tell me, I'm not going to get, and that's honestly, that's something you and I both would do and have done. If you're not going to tell me, I'm not going to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go fishing for it just to make you feel better, like make you feel important, like but that's exactly what happened. And I just feel so bad for Franny, but again, she has to Franny has to know that Vanessa killed all these people, right? It's going to be in the news. Like, how's that going to, like,
Well, this is where I get so frustrated. It's like, Vanessa didn't think in that moment. She was like, I'm just kind of speechless because I even if you want, there's things that I've wanted my entire life, but I wouldn't jeopardize so many people involved just for a better look. Okay, but didn't you already say that you got a good look once before because you saw all the like various shades of cerulean? That's like pretty solid. You know what? We're clearly showing a pattern that we can keep coming up here. I'll wait for the next one. Like, you're so concerned because even when they had their fight, you're going to not let me say goodbye to Franny. Like, Franny is just as much a part of Vanessa's life too at this point. And so it's selfish in that moment. That's there's no way to dance around it. She wanted a better view. She wanted the better view. It's not that, it's just very selfish.
So obviously we've covered how this book ends. Jessica Marie, when you read this the first time, how did you feel when this book ended?
I mean, the second time I didn't sob. The first time I was like heaving because I really thought that I think it was just like stuff was going on. I was like super, super emotional. Because I thought at first I was crying that she was just like, she's dead. Like, yes, she fucked up, but it was like, I think there was just like a lot of things that were built. I was thinking about the time. I was thinking about the place. I'm thinking about their having to hide love. I'm like frustrated, and I'm still frustrated because it's 2026 and there are still very much people who can't express themselves, who don't live in safe places, don't have safe people around them. They're still, learning who they are as people and don't feel comfortable to be open about it. I think there was just like a time and place of like when I was reading it that it was so emotional. And then I kept crying because yay, she survived, but it does feel very abrupt at the end because they're like, and she landed. They passed over the Indian Ocean. Oh, now they're in California. And in my head, because it's the last 10 minutes of the book, I was like, we love a logistics. I guess space and rocket ships, that's very fast. That makes sense. They would go over from the Indian Ocean to California. Sure. I think that part, I was like, how does that work? But okay. Again, because I'm thinking of when we saw Artemis 2 land and we're watching in live time and we see it in an hour and you see where it's coming through the atmosphere and you see where it lands and you're like, oh my God. Like again, the sequence of events. I didn't think that part was going to get me super emotional initially. I always knew from the beginning. I just didn't know how the aunt-niece dynamic was. I knew that. Right. And I'm so fortunate that my sister and I don't have this relationship and that I'm very much involved in my niece's life. But I also knew this relationship, if my sister wasn't the parent that she is, I saw how Joan shifted her whole life to say, fuck you and the horse you think you rode in on, this is my rodeo now, if it was a completely different situation.
Mm-hmm. So two different reactions. Like they kind of melded into sobs, but kind of two like love for the niece and dynamic and also like complicated space feelings. Which Yes, because it was just like, what is happening? I didn't know space could make me feel this way. Then the second read for this book, it was very much I think I was just like more frustrated because I think the first one, I was so deep in it that I wasn't thinking necessarily logically. I was just thinking with my emotions and I was relieved and I was happy and they have this love story. But the second time, even though I knew
what was happening since chapter 1. But the second time I allowed myself to, I knew where the story was going. So I still focus like the niece dynamics, the aunt niece dynamic, obviously it was still made me feel very emotional, but the policies, the processes, the work dynamic, not like the at work, but like this situation, the failed protocols, I think I was even more annoyed because I knew what was happening and I obviously knew how it was going to end. And again, spoiler, she survives. But I was like more annoyed because I was just like, I had already read it once. I already knew I knew the characters again. Now I'm more annoyed that it was even more preventable. I think that's really what it is. And I do like to pride myself on being like, you know what, sometimes I'm like, fuck the system. Like, I'm going to do what I want. Like sometimes, and I think it's a frustration that I have in my personal life sometimes too, is that you want to be the voice of reason. And you're like, I have to be the dumb one because I'm confused why other people are confused. Why wouldn't you do X, Y, and Z? And then you get looked at like you have 3 heads and you're like, you're just asking the like literally the obvious question because I'm not playing corporate politics or what have you. So this is just like this is why you do these things. We're not dancing around politics here. And you did it anyway. And now I'm frustrated all over again. It's so preventable. What would you say was your strong, you said this book, you said at the top of the episode that this book evoked a range of emotions for you. Which one was your strongest?
Rage. Because I start off with, you're not following the rules of space. Fuck off. And then we're introduced to a shitty sister. And then we have to watch her be a shitty parent. And I can't stand shitty parents. And then we have to watch Joan navigate the politics of NASA, which are very like male-centered, male-oriented, like, you know, navigate her relationship with Vanessa, which is fine. But then we have to watch this like third act breakup kind of situation that gets morphed into this event for everybody to witness when Vanessa goes up into space. And that's just rage inducing as well, because everything that happens. So it was mostly rage, but also this like gut wrenching fear of space that I have, which is like so interesting because like I love sci-fi, like, you know, like Firefly, all of that stuff. Battlestar is just what, you know, Farscape is my favorite TV show of all time.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like you, Doctor Who, like you're all in space and sci-fi, right?
I love space. I just started recently rewatching Stargate Atlantis. We just met the Wraith, in case you're wondering. But I love it. Obviously, I love it. I never want to go there. It is just, I'm William Shatner. Don't send me up into that dark fucking vacuum. Like, do not. Did you ever see Gravity with George and Sandra? Don't.
There's a reason I can't even get through the whole trailer because of that.
It's panic-inducing.
The trailer was enough for me to not watch it.
Yeah. And I can't stand space disaster. That's the thing. Space disaster is something, a specific genre that I just cannot do. Again, The Expanse, one of the greatest TV shows of all time in space. I can't do space disaster. I can do space epics. I can do space odysseys. I can't do space disaster. So this being a space disaster was just this like, again, this, feeling of dread, this accumulation of dread that you have that gets heavier and heavier as you go throughout this book, because you are waiting for this resolution and you just don't know if everything that you're reading is going to be wasted because everybody's going to die at the end. Like, what is the point if everybody's going to die at the end, right? It's like, I can't think of it. Oh my God. George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg.
The Martian?
Boat.
No. Oh, The Thing. Doesn't help. The Last Storm? No.
The The perfect storm. The perfect storm. The perfect storm. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like the perfect storm, you know, where everybody, spoiler, I guess, everybody dies at the end because
I didn't know.
Yeah. Because the whole time you're thinking, oh my God. All right. Spoiler for the perfect storm. The whole time you're thinking like, well, one of them survives. I'm not going to say which one. Because one of them is narrating it. You're like, well, he obviously survives because he narrates the whole thing. Nope. Everybody dies. So it's just like this whole, you're just like, oh, well, okay, fuck. So I was kind of wondering if this was going to go the same way. It's like, is all of this story going to get wasted because everybody's going to die at the end? And we're just going to get this epilogue of Joan, like, trying to navigate the, like, political and like, you know, the litigation and, like, her emotional state and, like, dealing with Franny after this. But we don't have any of that because it's a love story. It's happily ever after. I felt so much that when I tried to do a second read through, I felt it all again, but magnified because I knew how it was all going to go. And I couldn't force myself to feel those emotions again. It's kind of like Chernobyl, where you just have this like feeling of dread that settles into you. I get that. And I was just like, ooh. But I do want to say that Joan and Vanessa's love story is the heart of this thing. Because without that, it is just a training montage of how to be an astronaut and bad parenting, you know, and trying to manage a work-life balance. But with the addition of this love story, you have the complexities of the time and the place and, you know, the system and society, but you also have just like the very simple story of two people falling in love and like who fell first and who fell harder, and watching Joan explore and learn about herself was one of the parts of the story that not only gave it heart, but made the traumatic parts of this tolerable. Because, you know, for me, it's space, but for a lot of people, witnessing this bad parenting is horrendous and is triggering for a lot of people. So I can see a lot of people being like, I can't do this. Like, I feel such a certain way that I can't even focus on the rest of the book because I hate this so much.
I can't remember if there were trigger warnings for this.
There were not in the audio version.
Same. Okay.
So that is interesting. However, as we're wrapping, I do want to bring up how Jessica Marie and I read this book. So I read this through audio on the Audible app, and this is how the book is presented to me. It is presented to me as Atmosphere, a GMA book club pick. Now, it's important to me that everybody listening knows that Atmosphere, a GMA book club pick is all one thing. It's the whole title. That is the whole title. It's all in black. It's all bolded. It's all everything. The second part, a love story, is not in bold. It is underneath, which I find wild because Jessica Marie used the library.
Yes. And I will add to your Audible version is that there's also a medallion on the Audible cover that notes also that it is a GMA book club pick. I went through Libby and it's just Atmosphere, and then in the like the title card kind of thing, and it says a love story, and then physical copies in the store also say Atmosphere. Now, granted, I know I'm not sure what the partnership may or may not be between Audible and GMA, because I do know that Taylor Jenkins Reid, during the promotion of this book, during its release, she did go to GMA. She did interview there. And it was selected as a, part of their book club picks. So I don't know what the partnership is there in order to have it integrated into the Audible version of this book. But I will say when I got it from Libby, that is not indicated. So
Marketing.
Yeah.
It's again, physical media. Physical media. Jessica Marie and I both just learned that Garth Brooks does not allow streaming. Physical media.
That is crazy. I was like, I never even thought of that the last time I went to listen to Garth Brooks. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's all cover bands on like streaming platforms that we were trying to listen to. But, and then there's we've talked about this before. There's versions of songs, even from Lady Gaga, that she no longer produces on any updated physical copies of. So and I have those copies just because I'm insane. Not even insane. I wanted the physical media before streaming was what it is now. So it's always so interesting to have those conversations. And then, then you figure out how to make them into your own downloadable versions. But with that being said, feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're at ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. And feel free to listen and rate us 5 stars on any of your listening platforms. We'd so greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.